This is from a handout titled Bits and Pieces, and it's on reading and writing decimals. So what I've done up here for you is I've come up with a chart that shows you a number and tells you the place value of each of these values. And so the first set of directions asks us to write each decimal. We're going to use this chart to help us out. So here it says 217 thousandths. So when I look at this decimal point right here usually is the divider between reading off two numbers. So when we see the word and, that tells us that we're going to end up using a decimal point here. Well, I don't see the word and in this problem, so that tells me that and since it says thousands here, that tells me I'm going to be on, I just have a part of a number, so I'm just on this side. And so when you see the word thousandths, that tells us that we need a number all the way in the thousandths place. Well, here's the thousandths place right here. This 2 is in the thousandths place. That's what it tells us. See how it has a TH at the end? So whenever it has a TH at the end, like hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, that means you're at a part of a number. You're on the right-hand side of that decimal point. So all we have to do is read off the number, 217. So we write that number, 217. And since it's in the thousandths place, in order to show that, I need to use a decimal point in front of the 217 to show that that number, that 7, is in the thousandths place. And so typically we'll put a 0 out in front and to the left of that decimal point to show that it is only a part of a number. So it's 0 and 217 thousandths. For the next one, it says 408 thousandths. So we're still in the thousandths place. Notice again it says thousandths, and again when you see that TH, that tells you that you've got a part of a number, not a whole number, part. So 408. So we're just going to rewrite that number, 408. So it's a common mistake is people are going to put 480, but it doesn't say 80, it says 8. And so we look at the thousandths place again. The thousandths place is just that third digit over from the decimal. And so in order to show that we're not at 408 but 408 thousandths, we're going to use a decimal point right in front of that 4. And so our answer would be 0 and 408 thousandths. Well, the next one, we actually have a number on the left-hand side of the decimal. It says 11. And again, that and, that tells us that we're going to put the decimal point somewhere right after the 11. And so again, when you see that word and, we are going to use a decimal point right after that number that we read. So when you read a number and we have a decimal point, it's basically reading two numbers. You've got the whole number, and then you also have the part of a number. And so when we read the number 11, we just write down 11, and, so we use the decimal point for the word and, 64 thousandths. Alright, to show 64 thousandths, 64, okay, we wrote the number 64 right here, but I need to show it's in the thousandths place. Well, a common mistake is people are going to write down 11.64, but that's not the case. See, this would be 11 and 64 hundredths, because the 4 is in the hundredths place. I need to make sure the 4 is in the thousandths place. I need the 4 to be right here. Well, all I've got is two numbers, though, the 6 and the 4. That means I need a placeholder in the tenths place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 0 as a placeholder, and then write the 64. So when we're reading off numbers, we read them off as the whole number first, 11, and, so we say and for the decimal point, and then we read the part, and we read the number 64, and then say the last digit's place value. The last digit's place value is in the thousandths place. So 11.064 would be the answer. Well, the next few problems are going to ask us to write the word name for each decimal. Alright, so it's the same thing. So 23. So we start off with reading off basically two numbers, the whole number and then the part. So again, you're going to read a whole number. And then when you say the word and, remember the and represents the decimal point. And then you're going to read off the part of a number. And so that's what we have, are two different parts here. We got the 23, so 23, and so when we see the decimal point, we use that word and right in place of that decimal point. And then we read 8, and 8, and then we say the last digit's place value. So let's take a look. Right after the decimal point is the tenths place. So we say, and 8 tenths. And that would be our answer. Well, let's try another one then. Let's say we had this one, 6. Okay, so we read off the whole number first. So we write that part down, 6. And then we see the decimal point, so we say the word and. That tells us that we're breaking it into the two different types of numbers. We've got the whole number and then the part of the number. So 6 and then we read off this number, 49, and then we say the last digit's place value. Well, 2 spaces after the decimal is in the hundredths place. So we write down hundredths. That's it. So 6 and 49 hundredths is what we end up having there. So let's take a look at another one. This one we have a 0. So you could just say this number just like they did up here. Like here they wrote 217 thousandths. Or you could write 0 and then write off the number. So we can go ahead and write it in the shorthand form just by writing the 387. So we'll start with that. So we write down 300. That tells us that the 3 is in the hundreds place. 387. Oops. So 87, and then now we're going to say the 7's place values. The 7 is in the thousandths place. So that's what we write down, thousandths. So again, all you're doing when you're writing a decimal, you're reading off the number 387, and then you read off the last digit's place value, the 7's place value, the thousandths place, because 3 numbers over is the thousandths place. One more problem to try here. And this one, we have a whole number, so we read that off first. So we have 3, and whenever you see the decimal point, that's the word we're going to put in there in place of that decimal point. And now we read off this number, 208. So 208. And then we say the place value of the 8. And it's in the thousandths place. So there it is. Again, the key is read the whole number. So we said, like in this instance, it was 3. And then we say the word and then you read off this number, 208. And then you say the last digit's place value. And that's what we're looking for. So those are the types of problems we'll end up seeing on that handout. Good luck tonight.